As a powerful CEO with a big house, a successful spouse, a family, and expensive recreational habits, Jacob feels like life will always be easy. Along with George, his colleague and partner in crime, the two dominate the boardroom as well as the bedroom. But as it turns out, they do not quite have control of their homes. Caught knee-deep in the world of blessers, Jacob and his family are about to learn a few hard lessons and discover that they are perhaps not that #blessed. This movie tried to make commentary on the blessy lifestyle, but in my opinion, it fell short of making a clear statement. If I had to sum this movie up, I would say the blessy lifestyle is dangerous and it can ruin intimate relationships and families. But none of that happened in this movie. The ideas they introduced were not fully developed and they did not go through with them. The drama wasn't dramatic enough for me, and it was actually very anticlimactic. The writers knew exactly where they wanted to go, but decided that the destination wasn't worth the journey. So, they said to themselves, let's wrap things up in a tiny, neat, clean bow and not ruffle any feathers. The way they classified this movie was as a drama comedy, a dramedy. But it's more of a comedy than anything else. There was very little character development and little to no conflict, if I'm being honest. Drama films are serious stories with settings or life situations that portray realistic characters in conflict with either themselves, others, or forces of nature. Dramatic themes often include current issues, societal ills and problems, concerns or injustices such as racial prejudice, religious prejudice, drug addiction, poverty, political unrest, the corruption of power, alcoholism, class divisions, sexual inequality, mental illness, corrupt societal institutions, violence towards women, etc., etc. Again, I'm not saying that they didn't touch on the drama of it all, the societal ill of women sleeping with older men for financial gain, or we could say the societal ill of powerful men using their status to manipulate younger women. They did touch on that. They just didn't do it in a way that was clear. There was no clear consequences and no clear lessons learned. Then there was that almost incestuous situation between Natasha and her father Jacob. Jonga, if it was me, I would have been sick. That scene was extremely difficult to watch. The secondhand embarrassment that I felt for Natasha and the disgust. My skin was crawling. I was in the cinema and I was softly shouting, "Fork, fork, fork. Gijima Sana, that's your father." I wanted to hide. I wanted her to hide. If I was in that situation, I would want the earth to swallow me up, shame. And then there they were, moments after that situation happened between them, and they're just having a conversation as if Natasha wasn't just rubbing her ass on her father's. You know what? Let me not. Let's drop it. To be honest, all the dramatic scenes and the tense moments in the film were glossed over. There was a scene where it wasn't clear who Talent's father was. Talent could have been Jacob's son, but he wasn't. Michelle was full on cheating on her husband, but it's forgiven. Natasha's boyfriend, who happens to be Talent, was having a sexual relationship with his girlfriend's mother, but that was wrapped up nicely now, yo. Natasha, who comes from a well-off family, who grew up around other well-off people, who I am sure has some kind of repertoire with her father's business associates' daughters, went straight into prostitution after one failed attempt at working, and we're supposed to view her actions as realistic? Listen, before I whore myself out, I am trying every avenue available to me. If I can't take orders from people, okay, let me clean. I can't clean, okay, let me look for sponsorship on Instagram. Because we all know that big brands sponsor people with a massive following. And there's no way with the way that Natasha was living her life on Daddy's account, she did not amass a large following on Instagram. If big brands aren't biting, okay, I'm going to be a nail tech. I can't stand touching people's hands or feet. Okay, I'd much rather go back to my father's house and beg him to come back in the house than go to prostitution. My point is, Natasha didn't struggle enough for her to jump straight into prostitution. She didn't even think of selling off her designer handbags and clothing as secondhand before she decided to spread her legs. Instead, as soon as she got fired, she went straight into prostitution. And she was comfortable doing it. That's another thing. She was comfortable doing it because at least she could maintain her lifestyle. The drama portion of this film was almost non-existent. We saw no tears, we saw no struggles, we saw no character development, we saw no pain, we felt no sympathy or empathy. They could have said it was a comedy and leave it at that, because the comedic aspect of this movie is there and it was funny. I laughed and I did enjoy watching the movie for what it was, a comedy. The comedic scenes were truly funny, genuinely funny. Where I didn't laugh until my stomach hurt, but the jokes were there. Even Jacob's business partner, George, had a funny line or two. But honestly, the maids were the cherry on top for this movie. Every scene with Malerato and her squad was hilarious and I enjoyed watching them. The maids were making the best of their situation. And now that I think about it, I have a question. Why didn't Natasha go to Malerato for help before becoming a blessee? Malerato was concerned over Natasha. And she was the only one who actually seemed concerned. Now let's talk about Michelle, Jacob's wife. Michelle was very rude and short-handed with Malerato. She's a woman who has checked out of her marriage and her family. And her husband, Jacob, he even asked how he got married to a quote-unquote vile woman like her. Michelle was cynical and rude towards everyone in the house. And she didn't seem like a very well-rounded woman. She's cheating on her husband. She's focused only on her business. And then there was that scene where she gave Jacob the dry hand job. Come to think of it, I think that the writers wanted to justify why Jacob cheated on her. They wanted to justify why Jacob ended up cheating on her. And essentially, why some marriages fail. I'm not going to get into that. With that said, I believe the movie is still in cinemas. So go and watch and support local films. This, Blessers, is a comedy. If you want something light to watch, go and watch it. Bye-bye.